What's up guys, it's Tommy here and welcome to a brand new Liverpool news video where we will talk about Liverpool's transfer window. First of all, let me know in the comments below, out of a rating of 10, being 1 is the lowest, 10 is the highest, how would you rate Liverpool's transfer window? I'm still absolutely fuming and bitterly disappointed that Liverpool didn't bring in an attacker in the summer transfer window. We had a whole 2 months after signing Konate to bring in an attacking player, and don't give me the excuse that there was no one available on Liverpool's transfer list, because Liverpool had a negative net spend, so we earned more money from player sales than what we spent. And I mean, even Arsenal had a net spend of more than £100 million, and I think Jurgen Klopp wasn't fully backed in the transfer market by FSG. But we will talk about the pros and cons of this transfer window for Liverpool. But let me know, how do you rate Liverpool's transfer window, and leave a like on this video if you enjoyed this and if you enjoyed the content, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I want to say a huge thank you to OneFootball for sponsoring my channel for this month. OneFootball is the home of football, my favorite app. I've been using it for years. You can find all kinds of football news on there, and also you can find the stats, the latest transfer news. I've been going there almost every day checking the Liverpool transfer news, because they combine the best and most interesting transfer news and football news. And you can find also interesting videos, stats, analysis, fantasy football tips, and all kinds of interesting football related content on the OneFootball apps, and it's completely free. So what are you waiting for? Make sure to download OneFootball using the link in the video's description, and you support the channel as well that way. And no wonder Michael Edwards has leaked to the media that he wants to leave Liverpool FC, because he had nothing to do except negotiate some player sales after bringing in Ibrahima Konate. And James Pearce looks at the positives first. He said the focus for sporting director Michael Edwards has largely been on retaining key personnel for the long term, and that's been achieved impressively with Trent, Fabinho, Alisson, Van Dijk, Robertson and Henderson signing new contracts. So that's brilliant. 6 players, the core of Liverpool FC, have signed new contracts, but we still need the front three, Mane, Salah and Firmino, to sign new contracts, because they still have only 2 years left on their contract. So next summer we are either sell them on the cheap, or we face risking losing them on a free transfer unless they sign a new contract. So that will be Liverpool's priority, to sign these players to new contracts, especially Mo Salah. And Liverpool many times said we don't want to arrive in a scenario where we have to replace all our front three in one summer, in one transfer window, but that could be the case in 1 year or in 2 years, unless Liverpool are waiting for a blockbuster transfer to make, unless we are waiting for Erling Haaland next summer, or even Kylian Mbappe on a free transfer. But after this summer transfer window, I'm so skeptical and so disappointed in the Liverpool owners and the Liverpool hierarchy that I highly doubt that it will happen. I apologize for being so pessimistic, but this transfer window has really didn't put me in an optimistic mood regarding the future transfer business of Liverpool FC. And yes, James Pearce says that it's an expensive exercise keeping hold of world-class talent, and I see totally the point that previously Liverpool always lost some of their best players at the peak of their powers. Luis Suarez, Fernando Torres, Xabi Alonso, Mascherano, and even Pepe Reina, our goalkeeper, and other players. We lost to Real Madrid and Barcelona and other clubs. But this time we are keeping our core, our best players together, and they want to stay at Liverpool and win trophies. But I think up front we are still short. Philippe Coutinho was another player that we lost at the peak of his powers. But also James Pearce said it's understandable why Liverpool fans hoped that 1 or 2 more signings would follow Konate, and now they feel underwhelmed that nobody else was brought in. And sports journalist Nancy Frostick also suggested that Liverpool have failed to do enough in the transfer window to be considered genuine title contenders and title challengers. He said in the Premier League, the obvious place to look at is Newcastle when it comes to not doing enough in the transfer market, but I'm feeling really brave. And there I say Liverpool, there's no arguing with the money they have brought in from sales, but it hasn't been the most exciting window for incomings, and that's putting it lightly. And I wonder if Liverpool will have enough to really challenge for the title this season. We are really basing our season on pure luck and coincidence. We need Mane and Firmino not to have another season like last season where they have a big goal drought during the season. And also we are basing our luck on Jota and Salah not getting injured at any point during the season, because they are basically Liverpool's two main reliable goal scorers. All the other players are not scoring goals regularly. Mane and Firmino are past the players who we can rely on week in, week out to get goals, and I really hope that's not the case. But if it is, and if Mane and Firmino, they are already in decline, and I'm fearing that I'm right in saying that, then Liverpool will struggle this season. And if we get a major injury to Jota or Salah, then we might find ourselves again just fighting to finish in the top 4 instead of a genuine title challenge. And I can understand Liverpool's policy of waiting for their first choice target to become available, but we don't know who those targets are at the moment. And also there are so many clubs looking to sign big strikers. Real Madrid almost signed Mbappe for 200 million when he has 10 months left on his contract, which I still find absolutely staggering. So Mbappe looks like he's going to Real Madrid in next summer. At least they can sign a pre-contract agreement in January, and according to newspapers, Mbappe wants to sign a pre-contract agreement with Real Madrid. He's still not signing a new contract at PSG, and Haaland is the obvious next big target. And there is one encouragement, that many big clubs have already filled their striker department. Tottenham have Harry Kane, Man City is the obvious one who they didn't sign a striker, so Haaland could go to Man City or Liverpool or even Real Madrid if they don't sign Mbappe. But Real Madrid could sign Mbappe and Haaland, because saving a lot of money on the Mbappe transfer, if they sign Mbappe on a free transfer, Real Madrid could have enough to sign even Haaland on top of Mbappe, which would be absolutely crazy. But I wouldn't put it past them, because Real Madrid out of nowhere somehow found 200 million pounds to bid for Mbappe in this summer transfer window. So the transfer market is absolutely bonkers. It's crazy. It's the craziest, most insane, most mental summer transfer windows that I can ever remember. There are so many transfers that you thought you would only see on FIFA career mode, and it became real life. It's absolutely staggering, and especially what PSG have done this summer is just absolutely crazy. So the Haaland is the obvious choice. If he is available for 64 million transfer like release clause, that's his release clause, Liverpool should be all over that. But the big question is, will Liverpool pay Haaland the massive wages that he's offered? He reportedly wants maybe 500,000 pounds per week or even more. That's 2 million pounds per month for a salary. That's absolutely staggering. That would be a lot more, almost twice as much as Liverpool's next highest earner at the club right now. And also, if Man City didn't sign a striker this summer, they will be all over Haaland, and they can offer him almost anything really in terms of money, because their owners are just absolutely crazily rich. And Liverpool need to repeat the absolute miraculous season where we collected 79 of the first 81 points available, when we got to 99 points and blew everybody out of the water, and we won the Premier League title earlier than anybody else. And it was 2 years ago. Liverpool, after winning the Champions League, has only signed Harvey Elliott, Sepp van den Berg, Adrian and Andy Lonergan. So basically, for the first team, we only signed Adrian, a backup goalkeeper, and that wasn't deemed good enough by the fan base, including me. But the naysayers were soon silenced spectacularly, because Liverpool went on this absolutely amazing run, blowing everybody away, and they won their first league title in 30 years. And of course, given the caliber of contenders, repeating that trick will be much more difficult this time around, because I think Chelsea, Manchester United and even Man City are a lot stronger than they were back then. But the big plus for Liverpool is Man United still haven't signed a defensive midfielder who is world class, or even anyone. So they are still stuck with Fred and McTominay as their main defensive midfielders. Man City couldn't get a striker in. They tried for Harry Kane, they tried for Cristiano Ronaldo. They failed for both of them. So they will start with Ferran Torres or Gabriel Jesus most of the time, or any other midfielder that Guardiola decides to play up front. But I still think that Man City, without a proper striker, will not be as strong as they would have been with Harry Kane or Cristiano Ronaldo. That's pretty obvious. But the problem is that Chelsea now have almost as strong as a starting 11 as Liverpool, but definitely a stronger and bigger squad. Man City already had a stronger and bigger squad than Liverpool. Now Chelsea have a stronger and bigger squad than Liverpool. Man United, probably in defense and midfield, they are weaker than Liverpool. But up front, they have more options, more goal scoring potential, more different goal scorers than Liverpool. Liverpool truly have Salah, Mane, Jota and Firmino as the 4 main goal scorers. Man United have Bruno Fernandes, Greenwood, Rashford, Martial, Cavani, Cristiano Ronaldo. So they have 6 or 7 players who can score goals regularly. Man City, they have again 7 or 8, and Chelsea pretty much the same. So that's the problem with Liverpool. We don't have goals from midfield, or we don't have goals from the defense. Maybe Van Dijk can replicate again a great season where he scores 5 goals from set pieces, but it's going to be tough for Liverpool to overcome these teams. Nat Phillips has signed a new 4-year contract because he couldn't get a permanent move to another club. So he stays as a centre-back cover. So now Liverpool have 5 centre-backs. So I think at least we don't have to put midfielders back into the defense, because we will have more than enough defenders throughout the season. So if we have an injury crisis in defense, we will be fine in that department. Reece Williams goes to Swansea on a 1-year loan spell. And that's good news, because Reece Williams is only 20 years old and he really needs to play. But the transfer that really annoyed me was that Saúl Ñíguez, he really desperately wanted to leave Atletico Madrid, and in the last minute of transfer deadline day, Chelsea managed to sign him on loan for just 5 million euros loan fee. That's an absolute bargain. And also they have an option to buy Saúl Ñíguez at the end of the season, but not an obligation. Liverpool should have been all over this, but I can see Jurgen Klopp's point of view that he wanted to put Harvey Elliott into the midfield and give him the numbers that Saul would have had if he signed for Liverpool. And Jamie Carragher also said this: I'm not worried about it. Liverpool's owners don't have the same level of income as Man City or Man United. Liverpool have had a model since FSG has come in, and it's worked spectacularly so far. They are seen as one of the best operators in the transfer market. And what Liverpool don't do is make stupid decisions and do silly things in the transfer market that maybe they did when I was a player. Everyone was screaming at Liverpool that they had to do something at centre-back in January, but the one they wanted wasn't there. When the one they wanted became available, they got him, so they signed Konate. When you see what Chelsea are doing, bringing in Lukaku, it's a fantastic signing, but Liverpool wouldn't pay 100 million for a 28-year-old striker. They wouldn't have gone in for Harry Kane, who is also 28. They wouldn't have brought a Ronaldo type at 36. Liverpool just don't do that, and this will probably bode well for the future, but right now I can see why Liverpool fans are really frustrated, because I'm just afraid of the injuries. If Liverpool can keep most of their team fit like 2 seasons ago or 3 seasons ago, then Liverpool will be fine, because our starting 11 is still one of the best starting 11s in the Premier League. And if we can start week in, week out with most of that team intact, we will be there or thereabouts when it comes to the Premier League title. But if Alisson gets a long-term injury, if Fabinho gets a long-term injury, if Trent gets a long-term injury, if dare I say Salah or Mane or Jota gets a long-term injury, and those are big ifs, but if any of these players get long-term injuries, their backup players are just nowhere near as good. Trent's backup is Neco Williams. You can see the drop-off in quality. Fabinho's backup could be Henderson. And in midfield and defense, I think we are mostly fine. That's why I said I was bitterly disappointed that we didn't bring in an attacker, because if Harvey Elliott is a midfielder, then we only have Minamino and Origi as our backup forward players. And yes, we have 4 main goal scorers for 3 places. But still, now that Firmino has a hamstring injury, he will miss 3 or 4 weeks. Jota already has to play every game with Salah and Mane. Will they get burned out? Will they lose form? Will they get injured? And if they do, Minamino only scored 1 league goal in the Premier League last season, and Origi scored a big fat 0 goals in last season's Premier League season. So we are relying on these guys to get us goals in the Premier League. If the other players are not available for one or the other reason, Africa Cup of Nations is also coming. And yes, it's only probably 2 games in the Premier League, but still, 2 games without Salah and Mane, that will be a problem for Liverpool. Who will start up front? Jota and Firmino and Origi or Minamino or Harvey Elliott? That will be a problem, especially if Mane and Firmino have a big goal drought again. And that's what I'm worried about. Where will Liverpool's goals come from? But let me know what do you think about this strategy that Liverpool are basically a club which always wait for their primary transfer targets to become available. We did that with Fabinho and Alisson, we did that with Van Dijk, we did that with Timo Werner, but then the pandemic hit and instead we signed Jota, and I think that worked out perfectly well because Werner didn't set the world alight at Chelsea, and now he's only a bench player, and Jota is scoring a lot more goals than Timo Werner with a lot fewer games. We also waited for Thiago, and now the big question is, who are we waiting for? As I said, I would love us to sign Erling Haaland next summer. I think a lot will be forgiven if Liverpool managed to pull that off. But with Man City still needing a striker, I find it very difficult that Haaland would choose Liverpool over Man City when Man City can offer him absolutely insane wages, like sky high, maybe double what Liverpool can offer. But let me know what is your opinion on this. Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you guys. And thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. Have a nice day. See you later. Goodbye.